It's just an old school what the flick, because I didn't see this movie.
Right, all four of us here,
Yeah.
you didn't see it.
Right.
Seems like old times.
What are we talking about, The Party?
The Party.
The Party, yes. All right, so The Party is a movie about a soiree hosted by Kristen Scott Thomas,
Yes.
right? Who is about to embark upon her political ascension. She's going to be minister of something. It's kind of unclear.
Health.
She's health. Oh, minister of health.
They say
All right.
so toward the end.
Ah, well, then I missed that part.
Looks to me like Matt didn't see it either.
I did see this movie, and there will be fireworks. You'll see why.
It's very telling that you barely got any of this because this movie's a piece of shit.
Hang on, wait.
So why do you love it?
Hang on. I just spent an hour and 10 minutes in the car getting over here, so you'll pardon me if I'm like
Which is the same
blanking on
running
names.
time of the party.
Right. You could have been thinking about what you wanted to say.
Listen,
I already like it.
this movie is fucking awesome.
Okay.
Right? Absolutely. I loved this movie. It's hilarious. Patricia Clarkson is lethal in this movie.
Yeah.
Now, it's the script at times, there's some dialogue in here that it's like, oh God, this feels like a play. But the actors sell it, and the direction.
At times.
It all feels
Okay,
like a play.
Okay, but hang on.
And it feels like a terrible play.
Okay.
With actors like this, how bad could it be?
Okay.
It could be this bad when the
no.
script is. You had your moment.
Yeah.
Let me have mine.
Stop mansplaining.
All of the dialogue in this movie is so single entendre. It is like, bam, we're talking about. Patricia Clarkson is on fire, but everything that comes out of her mouth feels like this sort of written zinger that no human being would say with no context whatsoever.
All right, so I'm saying a 4.
2. This was agony. It's 70 minutes long, and it felt longer than the 5-hour Japanese movie I
You
watched
just
on
said,
Super Bowl Sunday.
I just saw before Matt gives his enormously high score, I just saw that it was 71 minutes, so I haven't seen it, but I'm giving it a 9.
Ironically,
What a
that's what I'm giving it.
coincidence. Matt's
I'm giving it a 9. I'm janking the score up.
It's so weird.
Jank
I
might
remember-
like this movie.
Well, I'm anxious.
He'd give it a 12.
Our score is a 5. And it's at 90% on the tomato meter, so apparently everyone really
I still got
likes
some
it.
pull.
Very- so
I
apparently
think
everyone likes
less
it.
of everyone who liked this movie, including you.
Oh.
It's shot, and it's pretty.
You couldn't possibly think less of me.
I was enchanted by this movie, yes. I'd say, my parents were born in Spain. It's a different traditional thing than Mexico, but this movie definitely gets one thing right that crosses both cultures, which is beware of a mother who takes her shoe off.
Oh,
Run,
that's real?
run.
Wait, so why is the shoe like a powerful weapon?
Because it's handy. Because it's right there when you need it, and she will throw it with deadly accuracy.
Have you been the target of shoe throwing?
I was mainly threatened with shoes,
Okay.
but you didn't want to test that.
You were a good kid. You were the youngest, and you were well behaved.
I was okay.
Okay.
But boy, when it hits, this movie hit me harder than any other Pixar movie ever had.
Really? More
Absolutely.
than Inside Out? More than with Bing Bong?
Yeah.
Really?
More so.
Because that Bing Bong destroyed me.
This one.
This did not.
I had a similarly ugly cry in this movie.
Did you?
I did.
There's real drama there, and I know that you're going to come in and say, "Oh, it did movies." Holy mackerel!
You are the least down. I want to hear why.
I just found it predictable, and maybe part of it is that it's a matter of expectations because everyone that I had talked to or I had read said that they were like a ball of tears walking out of it.
There are moments in the afterlife where I thought, is this Disneyland? I was reminded of specific sort
Which
of architectural
ride?
things.
It's a Small World
I can't
ride.
remember.
Especially like Main Street, right?
Yeah,
It's like-
totally. And there's a part where they're sort of like in the kind of the sort of customs office sort of bureaucracy of the afterlife, and I was like, oh, that's the Bradbury Building.
Yeah.
It is a Bradbury building. I noticed that
Which I
too.
thought was
That
kind of a fun
I
choice.
think I actually might have said, out loud. So many movies, and now an animated ones too. From a production standpoint, from an ideological standpoint, I found this to be a clever way into a story we think we've seen a million times. The idea of what Christ might have been like as he's figuring out his powers. Kind of clever. I love
his powers.
You guys can't see. He can shoot webs. No, he can see through people's clothing. No, it's But Ben's frowning at me off camera right while I'm talking about this. By the way, you're actively frowning at me like.
It was so
keep
boring.
going, Lemire.
It was so mind-numbingly boring. I couldn't believe this was a movie.
It's very earnest.
Yeah, it is so
super earnest.
Right,
Yeah.
and so again, it's a criticism I use a lot, but I wish I'd saved it for this, because this was an after-school special on the Hallmark Channel, like at best.
Really?
At best.
From what? From like an acting perspective, from a production perspective?
No,
What?
all of it.
All of it.
Because the best actors in the world couldn't have made the sort of incredible, as you said, your word is perfect, exemplified most by Jesus' stepdad, Joe.
We'll call him Joe.
We'll call him Joe.
Vincent Walsh
like,
plays
it
Joseph.
It is so earnest. Like at a moment where you see little Jesus running, like they literally slow it down, and his hair is like, come on.
Adam Greaves Neal is the young man who plays Baby
He's okay.
Jesus.
He's all right. I mean, you can cast him in something else, but I mean, give him something to say. And he had nothing to say here, and it's just his super concerned parents. And I get it. It would be hard to know how to deal with it. Like,
Well, they have to tell him at some point,
Right.
you're the son of God. Like,
Right.
how do you say that? Because
Right.
he knows he can do things. It's an interesting idea.
But then
Because
this-
he doesn't know who he is yet, and he's like, got stuff he can do. People are sick, and he can heal them. You know, there's like a little baby bird that's
Even though some
dead.
people are
He can
telling
bring
him
it back
that
to life.
even though they're saying like don't because it's dangerous. I tell you what, if you made me find something interesting about it, I would say that his relationship with his adopted brother, with Jimmy Christ,
Steve.
but his relationship with James, that's pretty good.
So you can tell that like they're trying to pull
Yeah, it's a
pieces
lot
and
of
make it
chunks
work
together
and it just
that don't
doesn't-
fit, yeah.
Like, so what is this? Is it an awards aspirational period drama? Is it a screwball comedy? Is it a like would-be Shakespearean tragedy?
Is it a tale of ribaldry? With boobies,
There are boobies.
There's a lot of the sexy moments are kind of ridiculous for the most part. And I'm sorry, Dane DeHaan,
You don't get it?
get it together, man. You're a good actor, but these are not. This and Valerian, these are not your wheelhouse.
I like Valerian.
Yeah, I like
Valerian.
I
was
like
strange,
the
and I liked it. I had fun
but
with
did you
that.
like Dane DeHaan and Valerian? That's the thing.
I like
I
Valerian.
like the creatures and
Yes,
stuff and the
but
world
not.
of it.
But Dane DeHaan is wrong for that role, and he's wrong for this role. Like he's a good actor. I like Dane DeHaan, but this is now 2 movies in a row
Yes.
where it's like you are not that rakish,
Harrison
sex pot
Ford,
guy.
yeah. So the portrait that he has the Dane DeHaan character come in to paint, whatever, he wants to stand and look very, very valiant. But Alicia Vikander, having been raised at a convent,
Right.
for the beginning at least, is super pious and is worried about the painting
Vanity.
being an offense to God as an expression of vanity. And then all of a sudden she's like rolling around with Dane DeHaan. Like, there's not a second of like misgiving. There's not even like a throwaway line about any sense of remorse or guilt. All of a sudden she's like this naughty bad girl.
And also, there's no spark between
There's
them.
none, no.
But here, this is. I want to do this. This is how Alicia Vikander poses for every painting.
Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. Here, holding my
so
tulip.
much with the
holding my
tulip, so much over the shoulder. Oh yeah, and so then there's this whole subcurrent thing about tulips in 17th century Amsterdam.
That's why it's called tulip fever. Thank you.
Which was a real thing. It was basically the Beanie Babies of the 17th century.
Yeah,
where
I mean, there was this
people
whole
were-
market crash.
You
Like
know
people
this?
went broke.
You know this?
Yeah, they were.
Hi-ho, friends.
We're not wearing our masks.
Away.
Did you know who we were without our masks?
Yeah.
Our cover is blown.
You know
Please
who should be
describe.
wearing masks? Everyone involved in this.
Except for Army Hammer. That's the problem. Go ahead.
So the Lone Ranger, everybody knew what, the rep preceded this movie significantly, and stop that, Lawrence. That's bullshit.
We're a professional show here, damn it.
Right. Yeah. Would you fucking sneeze during Pop Trigger? I don't fucking think so.
I'm sorry, continue.
The Lone Ranger. So, but when it came, when there was so much I felt sort of excitement about it by that early description of the Lone Ranger. And I'll describe it in 1 second, but you know what it's about. It's about the Lone frickin' Ranger. It was long, but actually, unlike most movies that are too long, I liked it better at the end. Like
It was ending?
Well, partially because you knew it was ending.
It finally becomes a Lone Ranger
Because
movie.
it finally became the Lone Ranger, and as I called this up, when this actually happened, and God bless him for doing it. when that actually happened, you were
It's the best part of the whole movie.
like, no, my hair stood up. I was like, yeah.
It's like finally, he's on the horse on a train, and Rossini kicks in, and you're like, okay, now finally, after 3 hours, it's a Lone Ranger movie.
And they didn't, and I guess because it's a relevant classical piece that people care about, they didn't mess with it.
But even that gave me about 45 seconds of unalloyed pleasure before we were back to the Gore Verbinski overdone big finale chase sequence where you don't know where anybody is in relation to anybody else, how the physics are supposed to work for this thing, what they're even trying to accomplish. It's just
that's a great point, and this is like, to me, the prototype for that. I mean, I thought 6 times, who's on what train?
Where are they?
Why are there 2 tracks?
Right.
Are those going to run into each other? They go under? How is?
I thought getting 1 track laid was the big challenge of this movie. So like, there's
already
2
got
next to each
2.
other. Wait, where's this come
And
from?
it's like on the opposite sides of a river, and then they come together, and there's a moment where the Lone Ranger says to Tonto, "What about the silver?" And they're like, "Oh, we got to get the silver." And you're like, why do you guys care about getting the silver? Like, why do they care where the silver goes?
I mean,
like, it's independent, it's on its own, and nobody's gonna die with the silver. It all seemed nonsense.
I found it joyless, you know? Like, there's no, I mean, you know, you see a movie like Fast 6 or whatever, no matter how stupid and improbable the big action set pieces are, you feel that flutter of, you know, and you get excited about it, and you're ducking things, and you're like, oh, make the jump. And this movie,
Yeah, there was a lot of that. I laughed a few times. I laughed more than you. I was sitting next to you, and I beat.
I am no fun to watch a movie with. I just sit there.
You suck to
I
watch
laugh
a
at the
movie
last
with.
line. The last line where he goes, "Don't ever do that
Of course,
again."
yeah,
I laugh at
right.
that.
The last
That was
line, the
it.
funniest line of the movie.
We were talking about the Monuments Men.
Yeah, so it turns out Ocean's 14 is the worst one. The Unmagnificent Seven. So it turns out Hitler hated Jews but loved art. And so this movie is about the men, the art archivists, or perhaps art archivists. A battle and a debate that we have consistently at Turner Classic Movies. The only network on television that uses the word archivists fairly frequently.
What's the right way to say it then?
Don't know.
How about Artemis?
I like
battle ranges on.
archivists comes out of my mouth a little easier, but you kind of sound like an asshole when you say it.
Like integral or integral.
No, it's integral.
Is it?
That one we have I think that one we have a debate on, don't we?
Go ahead,
That one's,
please.
I think that one's
Is it?
sealed.
Go. Continue.
So this is the story of these archivists,
Archivist.
right, who are integral to the process of saving art, and they so they are sort of recruited, almost self-recruited, to go into the.
Usually Clooney himself about the importance of art, and they can destroy our cities and trample our people, but they cannot take away what we've etched in stone and put on canvas. And
This movie's priorities seem to be so out of whack in terms of the storytelling. I mean, I feel like they rush through the beginning. You know, when you assemble the team of commandos or art experts or whatever the team is going to be.
Commando art experts.
Exactly. Like, give us something. Like, even if it's just the basic, like, oh, he likes cheese. Like, some sort of attribute per character so we know who they are, and then we go into their interactions with each other.
There's a moment where one of the characters steps on a mine. And the issue is, will he get off or will he not? And they're these smart, some of them are architects, and they just engage in bad cop movie banter through this. Why are you on there? That's what I asked him. Why is he on there? I asked him the same thing. And like, hey man, like you have a moment that's a dramatic moment that happened in war, that's a thing, and it's completely ruined and it seems separate. I was going to say separate from the full rest of the movie, but not, because there are other false moments.
Yeah, if the idea of the movie is these guys are dressed as soldiers.